titled Body Talk, Examining Body Discourse and Rhetoric and the Art of Lord Ferguson. And I used, in particular, this piece of artwork entitled Crouching Figure with Visible Skeleton. This artwork was scheduled as a part of an exhibit for the Senate Office Building in 2001. It was removed at first from claims from Tamara Somerville, the staff director of the committee chairman, Mitch McConnell, because there was not enough space. But later, they changed the cause for removing it and cited nudity as the cause for its removal from an exhibit. Rather than remove this particular artwork, which was central to the exhibit, the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, who sponsored the exhibit, they decided to move the entire exhibit away from the Senate Office Building to a new location. I was intrigued by this artwork at first because of the controversy surrounding it. I thought that was very interesting, but I felt that the nudity in the artwork wasn't offensive, but I knew that there was something else at play, a reason why this particular piece of artwork might have been offensive to some people. And I knew that, the claims by the Senate Rules Committee were not necessarily unfounded. So I came to the conclusion that the artwork fails to reshape the public perception of body deformities, not because the nudity presented in the artwork is offensive, but because the artwork lacks a visual antithesis to the rejection of the normal idea of the body. I thought about the artwork first in two ways, as body rhetoric and as body discourse. So body rhetoric I defined as one type of body discourse, and it can be considered one of the many sources of body discourse. And I like to think of it as the body speaking what this portrayal of the body is saying. Body discourse is the discussion invoked by the body. So it's what's said about the body, what this representation of the body sparks. So the body rhetoric became an analysis for me of this particular piece of work. So the artist's goal was that understanding of body deformities and acceptance of her particular body. And this body is based on her body. She used x-rays and ultrasounds to create this image. She says, quote, "It seems to me that if we can get past the complicated feelings of fear and guilt that pain, especially another's pain, engender, deeper layers of experience are made visible, and we get to a state of openness in which true empathy and human connection can occur." But I argue that this artwork does not create a feeling of openness and human connection, but rather a distancing between this body and the viewer. So I'm going to take a look at a couple aspects of this artwork. The first is the red splotches, if you see them, that kind of cover the whole work, making it look really grainy. And there's an up-close image of the texture of the work. And I thought that this was really strange because it looks like blood to me. So it kind of creates this idea of a broken body, a body torn apart or ravaged by this particular disease. And it doesn't really relate pity or admiration, but anguish and pain to the viewer, which doesn't create a sense of openness for me. The second aspect of the work that I wanted to look at was the posture. So if you look, the figure is kind of turned away. You can't see her face, so there's no real personal connection between this figure and the viewer. She's hunched over, and to me that conveys a sense of shame or embarrassment about her body, and also kind of this disconnect between her body, the deformities of her body, and what someone would consider the soul, the face of the body, the person who inhabits this body. I thought that the posture of the body was a contradiction between the boldness of the author in creating this body and the shame and the guilt displayed in the actual body that we see. There's no desire for the viewer to create a deeper connection with this body, and therefore they still see it as a different body, as a body uninhabited by a real person that they can connect with. The third aspect that I looked at was the medical aspect, and I thought this was really interesting because the medical aspect, you see here, it's almost like an x-ray. You see the bones. And this created a real place for an antithesis to the problems, to the disconnect between the viewer and the body. That antithesis could be in the medical imaging. It gives the viewer a chance to understand the body better. But the artist, in an article that she wrote, expressed that this is the opposite of what she intends. She created the artwork in hopes of, quote, regaining a sense of ownership of my own body that had somehow been lost when my experience was, quote, medicalized. So this medicalization that is possible in the image to provide an antithesis to the discomfort in the other aspects of the image is negated because the dominant aspects, the red splotches, the posture, the kind of disgusting, deformed, gory aspects of the body. For me, the end result was repulsion from the artwork, a disconnect between the viewer and the body that discouraged a way of understanding deformed bodies. Ultimately, her artwork fails to reshape and normalize public perception of deformed bodies. And I think that that is the root cause of discomfort people feel about this particular body.